He didn't stand out at first. Just another old guy in flannel and jeans, wearing a plain ball cap with the brim curled enough to keep the sun out his eyes. He moved slow, but not frail deliberate, like someone who'd made peace with the pace of life. You know the kind of man nobody notices until it's too late. The kind who shows up early, leaves on time, and doesn't waste breath on what doesn't matter. But if you were paying attention, if you really watched, you'd know there was something different about him. Something quiet. Something earned. They called him Pops, or just the old guy. Signed in as Martin. No rank, no chit-chat, just a nod to the desk clerk and straight to lane 7. Always lane 7 furthest from the Bluetooth speakers and the loudmouths trying to impress each other. Same ritual every time. Range bag in the right hand, single pistol case, one box of .45 ACP, and that same beat-up thermos that never left his bench. 30 rounds, 30 shots no more, no less. And then he'd pack up and vanish like smoke. To most folks, he was just another ex-trucker with a military discount and nothing better to do. But some of us saw it. There was one morning I remember because it felt like something shifted in the air. A group of Navy recruits rolled in loud and full of it, fresh off base, trying to outshoot each other. One of them, Jared, had that sharp edge in his posture kind that said he knew how to handle himself. SEAL trainee, fresh from Phase 2, maybe waiting on a call from Coronado. He set up 2 lanes down from Martin, not paying much mind at first, until he heard the rhythm. 3 shots. Pause. 2 more. Clean. Tight. Controlled. Not showy. Not rushed. Just efficient. Jared glanced over. The old guy's stance was textbook. No wasted movement. Recoil absorbed like he'd done it 1,000 times. Because he had. Then Jared saw it. Not on his shirt, not on his hate on his arm. Faint ink, faded from sun and years. Just a number and a symbol. No flack, no skal, no drama. Just truth. And Jared froze. Because that wasn't a tattoo you chose. That was one you earned. You didn't get that from a walk-in on base. You got that in the jungle, behind enemy lines, in missions that never made the papers. So Jared stepped over, respectful. "Sir, that ain't first recon, right?" he asked. Martin didn't smile, didn't flinch, just looked him dead in the eye and said once. That was it. Just one word. But it carried the weight of 100 stories. Jared nodded and backed off. No push, just understanding. But from that moment, he couldn't stop watching. Because suddenly, every movement Martin made wasn't just shooting, it was memory. It was muscle carrying ghosts. Jared's crew kept laughing, talking smack, but his focus stayed locked. He watched the grouping on Martin's target shrink tighter and tighter with each volley. Flawless. After 30 rounds, Martin began cleaning his weapon. No rush. Just that calm, ritualistic wipe down. Jared stepped closer. "Sir, if you don't mind me asking, when did you serve?" Martin paused, looked up. 66 to 74, he said. Recon. Southeast Asia. Jared's heart dropped a beat. That lined up. The ink made sense. The silence did, too. "You were in Laos?" Martin gave a half nod. "Among other places." That's when the rest of the range seemed to fade. Not the noise, but the presence. Like the world narrowed around lane 7, and everything else blurred. Even the recruits started to notice. The way Jared stood, the way he listened. One by one, they turned to look. "You ever train with SEALs?" Jared asked. Martin let the faintest smirk touch his lips. "Back then, we all trained with everyone. You swam. You survived. Or you didn't." Jared nodded, trying not to grin. "My CEO told us about a jungle op in 71, Jared said. Leader was wounded, but still carried 2 men out under fire. Said the file was sealed for decades." Martin's expression didn't change. A lot of things stayed sealed. And just like that, the door closed again. Jared got the message. Some stories ain't for sharing. They're for carrying. Martin packed his gear, stood, and started walking. But Jared did something different. He snapped to attention, not to show off, not as a joke, but with full respect. "Sir," he said, "thank you. Truly." Martin stopped, studied him, then walked back, reached into his pocket, and pressed something into Jared's hand. A coin. Solid, heavy. On one side, first recon insignia. On the other, still here. He leaned in. You'll know when it's your time to go quiet. Till then, earn it. And then he walked away. No handshake. No salute. Just gone. Jared stood there for a long time, coin in hand. Something had shifted inside him. This wasn't about tactics anymore. This was about legacy. Silence. Wait. When one of his buddies called over, Jared didn't answer. Just walked over and showed them the coin. Their laughter died the second they saw the emblem. Recon. Vietnamera. No way. Petty whispered. It is, Jared replied. Who gave it to you? Jared looked back at the now empty lane. The man you all ignored. That was Staff Sergeant Thomas Martin. Silence again. Later, Jared went to the front desk, showed the coin to the guy behind the counter. You know this man? The clerk looked up. Old guy from Lane 7? Yeah. Martin. Signed up 10 years ago. Pays in cash. No email, no phone. Old school. What's his first name? The guy tapped his keyboard. T. Martin. Mark do not publish name for honors or events. That's rare. You know why? The clerk shrugged. Only thing he's ever said to me and Sue was when I thanked him for his service. He said, I didn't do it for you to thank me. I never brought it up again. That night, Jared couldn't sleep. Around midnight, he fired up his laptop and started digging. Most records were blacked out. Some files redacted or dated wrong on purpose. But deep in a 1971 Mac VSOG log, it was there. S. Sergeant Thomas Martin. First Recon. Laos. March 6th. Extraction under fire. Recovered 7. Refused medevac. Wounded twice. Declined award. Recommendation buried. Asset considered irreplaceable. Now silent. That word again silent. That was the code back then. No me daos, no me moives, no chiquitalkis. You did the job, then shut the hell up about it. You carried it. Quietly. Martin had carried it all the way to that bench at the range. All the way to that last box of .45s. Just a man doing what he knew until someone noticed. Next week, he came back. Same truck. Same flannel. Same lane. But this time, the air had changed. Jared was already there. So were a few others. No words. Just straight backs. Quiet nods. Respect without noise. Martin didn't acknowledge them, but he noticed. The way the room shifted. Less talking. More precision. Midway through, Jared stepped over and handed him a fresh box of ammo. I figured 30 wasn't enough today. Martin paused. Looked at the box, then Jared. Gave a small nod. He stayed longer that day. When it was done, he sipped from his thermos on the bench while each young man passed by. A nod. A handshake. Sir. No selfies. No posts. Just presence. Even Petty came by. We looked you up. You saved a lot of people. Martin wiped the thermos rim. They saved each other, he said. The last to approach was Jared. He sat beside him, quiet. You ever think about teaching? Martin let out a soft breath. Spent 30 years trying to forget everything I teach. Jared nodded. But some of us need to remember. You don't teach this, Martin said finally. You absorb it. Then I'll keep listening. Martin stood, slow. Then don't talk so much. They both laughed. Before leaving, Martin left a fresh ammo box on the bench. A small gesture, but it said everything. Later that week, the staff screwed a brass plate into the wood above Lane 7. It didn't say hero. It didn't say legend. Just Lane reserved until he says otherwise. Martin never asked who put it there. Never told them to take it down. Because some men don't teach with words. They teach with presence. And if you're lucky enough to stand next to one, pay attention. Not to what they say, but how they move. How they aim. How they don't need to be seen to matter. So now I ask you, have you ever known a Martin? Someone who carried history in silence. Someone who never asked for thanks but earned it anyway? Tell me in the comments. Say their name. Share their story. Let others know who they were before the silence. Because the truth is, real warriors don't shout. They wait until someone finally sees. And when they do, the whole world gets quiet.